If the Bible is true, music like this will be banned during the millennium. This does not give glory to God at all. If the devil sang hymns, and sometimes he does, this is what it would sound and look like. Watching with sound off really drives this worldliness. The same goes for a lot of the music in Christian contemporary music. Of course, a band that looks like this desecrates a traditional and ancient Christmas song like O Come, Emmanuel. This is stupid, fleshly, and sinful. Check out our book on this subject. The problem with Skillet is not what he has done to a beloved Christmas carol. The problem with Skillet is that Christianity makes it apparent in the culture it produces. So do the differing forms of Satanism. This style of music is a product. This is a great example of medium. The fact that anyone calls us absolutely or holy just proves Ezekiel 22:26 and 2 Corinthians 6:14 that make you this is everything Christianity modern Christian Laodicea and care about that. Where all of the pop-based beat-driven wannabe Christian music leads to.
Hello everyone, I'm Clifford today, and you're not. I am not a panhead. I just wanted to put that out there right off the bat. I'm not a Skillet stan by any means. Longtime viewers of this channel will know that I've always been critical of Skillet's music, but most of it has been a matter of taste because I tend to like a lot of really heavier music, and Skillet is just not heavy enough for me, which seems to be quite in contrast to a lot of the critics that we'll be discussing today. I'm only sharing this because I want to make an effort to show that I'm not a biased Skillet fan. I may be a biased metal fan, but hey, what more do you want from me? Be that as it may, these crazies are forcing me to defend Skillet on the basis of art and theology. So, Skillet, please know that I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for the sake of rock.
I thought I'd die fighting side by side.
Panhead.
What about side by side with a friend?
I could do that.
For those of you who don't know, Skillet recently released their own rendition of the classic Christmas hymn, O Come, Emmanuel. To promote the song, they posted a clip on social media, including X. In the clip, it just sounds like your typical super heavy hard rock song. Now, normal people wouldn't really expect this to be such a big deal. It's just a Christian rock band promoting their single. Plus, this song has been covered multiple times by even heavier bands like For Today, August Burns Red, and Theocracy. So this really is nothing new, especially for longtime fans of Christian rock and metal. It's a song that very easily translates to the style because of its dark feel and triumphant chorus. But of course, because people have nothing better to do and it's social media, people decided to get their panties in a bunch over a song. The reaction was so strong from both critics and from defenders that pretty much all the members of the band came out with their own responses.
Short version. People are stupid.
So that's why I'm making a video a little sooner than I intended in an attempt to bring some sanity to this madness. Because personally, I think this does go a little deeper than not liking loud music. One of the biggest criticisms I've seen going around, I'm sure that you have, is that this is satanic and of the devil and therefore sinful because there's screaming and loud guitars and minor chords. That obviously means that it's demonic because it sounds like it. First of all, Christians have been criticizing Christian rock and metal basically since its inception in the 60s and 70s. During that time, there was a story going around about this missionary to Africa who was listening to some Christian music with his family, and then this local witch doctor comes out yelling, "What are these rhythms? What are you doing? Are you trying to call up the spirits? Don't you know that these are the same rhythms that we use to call them up?" So, yeah, even though the music has been getting a lot heavier and louder over the years, these people are basically the same as those way back then. To them, artists like Larry Norman and Stryper were of the devil. I mean, can you imagine if you showed up, if you went back in time and showed them Bloodlines, they'd probably cry. Honestly, they'd probably die. So the arguments are the same. You had preachers back then preaching publicly against Christian rock.
God said, I want you to cry out and cry out loud, and this is just a little tiny part, against this so-called contemporary rock and roll, so-called Christian music in our churches. Cry out against it.
And honestly, I thought that had all died out. But it seems this weird form of fundamentalism has reared its ugly head once again. And I would say the same thing to them that I would say to these people on X. Satan doesn't own any kind of music. No genre. He does not have that much power. I don't care how dark it sounds or how moving the beat is, he doesn't own it. Especially since we have so many bands that sing or scream some of the most theologically sound lyrics that you'll ever hear. Satan cannot occupy that same space. Can Satan use music for his own agenda through the lyrics and the actions of the artists? Sure, yeah, absolutely. But when it's taken over by people who are secured in their relationship with Christ and are using it to further his kingdom, I think that kind of cancels out any satanic power. And it makes me think of the Pharisees who accused Jesus of getting his powers from Beelzebub in order to cast out demons. Jesus' response was, "Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself will not stand. If Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then will his kingdom stand? And if I cast out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your sons cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. But if I cast out demons by the Spirit of God, surely the kingdom of God has come upon you." So if people are worshiping and honoring God through this music, and the gospel is being sung about, chances are that Satan has nothing to do with it. Has metal had ties to Satanism and its origins and over the years? Sure. But we need to remember that without the lyrics, it's just music. It's just sounds. A genre's satanic or even just secular origins doesn't make it off limits for Christians to be able to enjoy, or use for that matter. I can listen to Mannheim Steamroller's Christmas album without having to be concerned about the genre's origins in New Ageism. You can enjoy music like the Beatles or Janis Joplin without having to be concerned about the hippie or drug culture they were a part of. I mean, as long as the lyrics don't contradict your Christian faith. To summarize, listening to or writing music in a particular genre doesn't automatically mean you're taking part in the original culture of its birth. I mean, did you know that there are plenty of hymns that we sing today that were actually based on secular tunes? Be Thou My Vision, Battle Hymn of the Republic, What Child Is This, and Holy, Holy, Holy. They all got their original tunes from well-known folk songs and ballads. They may not have been satanic in origin, but I'm bringing this up to make the point that just because something wasn't originally meant to glorify God doesn't mean it can't be used as such. Besides, how like God would that be if he were to be able to take something meant for evil but to use it for good? I mean, he is the inventor of music after all. And I would say even the opposite is true. Like, couldn't Satan use what sounds more like Christian music that as we know it as a way to fulfill his agenda? Wouldn't that mean that we'd have to stop listening to that too? And yet, even despite everything I just said, there are still Christians who think that just because of the fact that it's dark-sounding music and the fact that they're dressed the way they are, it must be satanic. And to that, I would say that just because a song sounds dark doesn't mean it's satanic. Think about any classical song like O Fortuna, or The Hall of the Mountain King, or Toccata and Fugue in D minor. I think I pronounced that right. I mean, are you going to say that those are demonic as well? I mean, those are pretty dark sounding songs. And as for the screaming and loud guitars, I mean, like, I don't really know what to tell you, man. I mean, if you don't like it, that's fine. But there's nothing about loud guitars and screaming that it seems obviously satanic. I mean, you just don't like that. And if we're going to be talking about the way that they dress, I'm sorry, if Satan doesn't own a music genre, he most definitely does not own a way of fashion. Wearing all black doesn't mean you're a Satanist. What about people who wear all black for funerals? Like, are they summoning demons? Are we going to say that Johnny Cash was a Satanist when he wore black for most of the time on stage? He wore black as a symbol of solidarity with the downtrodden, and it became his famous man in black persona. And when you think about it, there's a lot of older church imagery that is very reminiscent of the heavy metal scene, such as black clothes, skulls, and anything to do with death. It's all a part of Memento Mori, which is remember you must die, which is very Christian. It's used as a reminder of our own mortality in this life and how to best use that time to glorify God. Now, I don't know if Skillet has a deeper reason like that for wearing black other than that it looks cool and it just comes with the territory of the scene. I wore all black when I was younger and in my emo phase, but I still loved Jesus and never performed any incantations. Either way, like, as long as you're not wearing like satanic symbols or anything, it's not a sin and it's not inherently satanic. And if we're going to talk about their tattoos, hold on. Tattoos aren't sinful. And I will not be going any further than that because that'll be a whole different video. Another problem with this line of thinking is that it encourages an attitude of fear. Certain Christians have a knack for being super afraid of anything that could be remotely connected to Satan or evil or whatever. We had it with the satanic panic of the 80s, Halloween, or honestly, any holiday for that matter. Dungeons and Dragons, Harry Potter, even Pokemon. People have been doing the same thing. No, I wasn't allowed to watch or play Pokemon when I was a kid. People have been doing the same thing. Love you, Mom and Dad. People have been doing the same thing for the number 67. That's right, the Gen Z meme 67. It's satanic, apparently, to some people. The reason I mention this is because one of my favorite Christian influencers and apologists, David Ladding, recently did a video reacting to Christians claiming that 6-7 was demonic. And I think what he says could be easily applicable to what we're talking about today.
You see, the devil doesn't own a day, an hour, a minute, and not even a number, okay? And I look at church history, historically. We look at the saints of old. They were not afraid of the devil either. It is only the modern evangelicals that respect the devil in this way, that give him days and numbers and hours. They give him attention. And I don't know, it's because the ex-Wicca witches now have some of authority. We see that always come out on Halloween, but my point still stands. When I look at history, when I look at Christian history, I see Saint Boniface. I see him taking an axe to the tree of Thor, who the locals warned, if you cut down this tree, you will be smitten by the gods, and yet he cut down the tree and made a church from the wood. I look at Saint Denis of Paris. He wasn't afraid of preaching the gospel. Even when his head was cut off, he continued to preach story after story after story under pagan threat. I see no fear in our saints, in our fathers and mothers of the faith. I don't see it. So why must we be afraid now? It doesn't matter what the devil says, what he claims, what he wants, what some pathetic rapper who's sweared allegiance to the wrong side is trying to do. My God rules every number, day, hour. You get the point? Yeah? Get passionate because I get angry. I get angry that we can get played so freaking easily. Okay? It's not that easy. It's not that simple.
Satan doesn't have any more ownership over music any more than he does over a number. And even if he did, guess what? we've got God on our side. We have Christ within us. Christians seem to think that listening to a heavy metal song or simply drinking a liquid death is somehow going to invite a demon to possess us. It doesn't work like that. Like, oops, accidentally got demon possessed. Satan cannot be where Christ dwells unless he is intentionally invited or welcomed by us. So there is no reason to fear. So if we don't have any reason to fear Satan's power influencing us while we're listening to Skillet, and we can't even prove that it is satanic, what exactly about it makes it sinful? There's nothing in the Bible that gives any instructions on what music to listen to. Now, granted, the Bible does talk about what we allow into our minds and what kind of things we consume, which in that case, I would say just don't listen to music with lyrics that dishonor God and affect your walk in Christ. But if we're just talking about the way the music sounds, look, if the music is causing you stress mentally or even spiritually, do this. Or even better, walk away and stop listening. But just because you're not comfortable listening to it doesn't mean that you have to enforce your convictions on everyone else. A stumbling block for you isn't always a stumbling block for someone else. The Bible is very clear on that in Romans 14, where Paul encourages us to respect the differing convictions of others while not enforcing yours. And that brings me to something else that I think is very important, because enforcing personal convictions on other Christians and creating a law where there is no law is exactly what these people are doing. And that is, by definition, Pharisaical. I don't like to throw around the term Pharisee willy-nilly, but this attitude really reminds me exactly how the Pharisees reacted towards Jesus. In Matthew 23, Jesus basically spends an entire chapter scolding the Pharisees on their hypocrisy, one of their many sins being making themselves appear clean on the outside by following the law and being performative for all to see, and making others do the same, meanwhile having sin in their hearts and in secret. When you create laws when there are no laws, you are acting like a Pharisee and living like God cares about what music you listen to rather than where your heart is at. And you are using the opportunity to shame others for not being as good of a Christian as you are. If you don't like the music, that's fine. You don't have to. Just don't make it a sin for others who do like it. Another criticism I've been seeing is that this isn't true art. I've never really been a fan of gatekeeping what is art and what isn't. In my opinion, when anything is created by humans, it's art. It may not be good art, but it's art nonetheless. Saying something isn't art just comes off as very pretentious. Now, some have said that it's not art that glorifies God. I think you would have to have quite a bit of gall to suggest that one thing glorifies God and the other doesn't. Like, who are you to say? We are broken and finite humans who create imperfect art, no matter how amazing it seems to us. The most majestic cathedral is a hut of sticks. The most beautiful piece of classical music is like scratching nails on metal, and the most awe-inspiring painting is like a child's drawing compared to the glory of God. All of it is equally imperfect and falls short. Yet, God still loves it. God loves the out-of-pitch voice that sings passionately with a heart of praise just as much as the opera singer with the same intentions. If we do anything with the desire to honor God, no matter how poor it might be, God accepts it as a worthy act of worship. Either way,
and I got news for you.
Everything glorifies God, whether it intends to or not. To quote T.S. Eliot, "Only in thy light and thy glory is declared, even in that which denies thee. The darkness declares the glory of light. Those who deny thee could not deny, even if thou didst not exist. And their denial is never complete. For if it were so, they would not exist. They affirm thee in living." The most majestic cathedral, the most beautiful piece of classical music, the most awe-inspiring painting, all honor God by pointing to his glory. Yet at the same time, anything evil or dark or depraved just shows in contrast how wonderful and perfect our Lord is. The dark things in life only bring contrast to the light of Christ. My sinful nature brings contrast and points to how perfect and holy God is. And you might say, yeah, well, that doesn't mean that we should purposefully go out of our way to create pieces of art that are dark. I think it depends on how we're doing it. If art is portraying the dark and the evil as something good and something to be celebrated, then that's a problem. But if the art is showing the dark and the evil as what it is, dark and evil, and then I don't really see anything wrong with that. Some of my favorite films are ones that show the depravity of man when we live outside of Christ and only live for our selfish ambitions. I also tend to like films that merely just show the wickedness in this world and that sometimes bad things just happen. I know, I probably need help. Those films may focus on the bad, but they by no means paint the bad as something to be desired. Even one of my favorite books, The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, is all about a demon sending letters to another demon. Sounds pretty demonic, right? And that book has been praised by Christians for decades for its insight on how evil works, as well as the weakness of humans. We can even look at a couple of my favorite painters and illustrators. Gustave Doré is most well known for his illustrations of the Bible, as well as Dante's Divine Comedy. Clearly, these are depictions of biblical events and faith-inspired concepts, yet we can clearly see that there is a prevalent theme of darkness in his work, or rather, in some cases, darkness versus light. And a more recent favorite of mine, John Martin, is known for his depictions of events in the Bible that show God's judgment. I'm not sure what it is about his work, but there's something about it that makes me feel uneasy and small. My particular favorite is Belshazzar's Feast, where we see the guests of Belshazzar's party reacting in horror to the supernatural writing on the wall as the Tower of Babel stands forebodingly in the background, serving as a warning of man's hubris and rebellious nature. I give all these examples to prove that dark aesthetics and themes do have a place in Christian art. There's nothing about Skillet, whether it be their music or the way they dress, that disqualifies them from being a part of the conversation of Christian art. Another thing I've been seeing is people calling this worship music. People have been like, man, this is how bad modern worship has gotten. Blah, 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 Protestants. Blah, 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 big Eva. Da, 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 seeker friendly. Which no one who is defending Skillet and their music is claiming that this is worship music. No one is saying that this version of this song should be sung in a congregational setting. For some reason, there are some Christians that don't seem to see the difference between the Christian music that we listen to for entertainment and personal enjoyment and the music we sing as a congregation in the church. Although I can't say I blame them since that line has been slightly blurred as of late. So no, even though this is a new rendition of an old hymn, this is just a creative version of the song meant for your own listening and, dare I say, edification. Please, nobody play it this way in church. So we've addressed the criticisms of the song, but who are these people who are hurling their opinions? Most, if not all of them, are conservative Christians. They've seen the evils of progressive ideology and liberalism creep into our society and the church. They've watched as preaching has become more surface level and not strong in the gospel message. They've heard worship music become less robust in theology and more narcissistic and fueled by emotionalism. They've witnessed pastors care more about numbers and not offending anyone than about standing in the truth. The world has become more evil, and they've been watching in horror as the church becomes more like the world. And so now they've decided to go after rock music. I promise, you guys are shooting yourselves in the foot. Rock, punk, and metal actually originated out of an attitude of being counterculture and going against the flow. What better way to fight against all the evil that we're seeing in the culture than to utilize those tools? Also, John Cooper has been one of the most outspoken voices, probably in the entire music industry, who has stood for truth and conservative values. Skillet is one of the few Christian bands that have been as big as they are for this long that have not deconverted or gone the way of some progressive theology. They're on your side, but you're making them out to be some crazy liberals. John Cooper of all people. So yes, you're shooting yourselves in the foot by excluding one of the most popular conservative voices you could. And not only that, you guys are really destroying an incredible opportunity to open your doors to panheads and metalheads alike. Interest in Christianity and going to church is on the rise, and I imagine some of these people are those who might like this kind of music. Imagine a fan of Skillet finding Christ and wanting to go to church, but then he sees these posts of all these Christians saying that their music doesn't belong in Christianity. Do you think he's going to feel like that he belongs in your church? Or any church? I've seen this cartoon going around over the years of this guy with tattoos wearing a skull shirt, looking like either a metalhead or a biker, or honestly, probably both. And he's sitting in church and all these church people are judging him. Meanwhile, he's praying and reading his Bible, and he seems to be the better Christian than any of them. And I used to think that this was a little weird and silly, maybe kind of cringe, because what Christian would actually treat that guy that way? Like, Christians aren't like that anymore. But it's you. You guys are those Christians in that cartoon. It's so absurd to me that there are still people like you in the church, and it's frustrating that social media is giving you a voice and a platform, because you do not represent what Christianity actually is. I see the same problems that you see in the world and in the church, and we should be on the same side. But you are overcorrecting and fighting the wrong battle here. It's okay if you don't like the music. You don't have to. I don't even care about it myself. I've had plenty of issues with Skillet's music and the way their music is written and produced, but I would never go as far as to say that it's satanic and not Christian and it has no place in art. It's just not my thing. Lots of people like this, though. And if you don't like it, that's just like your opinion, man. In the end, I don't think we should be gatekeeping what mediums of art or what genres of music that we can't use to give a Christian message. It's extremely limiting, and God is not a God of limits. Sure, he's a God of order and all that, but he's not a God of limits. Just as long as the lyrics aren't dishonoring God, anything is fair game. Plus, in the words of the godfather of Christian rock, why should the devil have all the good music?
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out this video. I hope you liked it. I hope it made sense. But now I'm actually going to take some time to respond to some comments from my last video, if you haven't watched it yet. But yeah, what Isaac is referring to basically is that when I was listening to the Jeremy Camp song on the Music Inspired by the Chronicles of Narnia album, I didn't really know what the lyrics meant in the editing. After I was saying that, I put Jeremy Camp's meaning behind the song, and so it just kind of contrasted with my stupidity, because of course I was reacting to it on camera in real time, so I didn't really have a way to research that. So I just looked like an idiot, but you know, I meant to do that. Jonathan says, amazing video. No, you're amazing. You're amazing. Thank you. And yeah, Eric, I guess if you want to call it an episode, I guess to me they're just videos at this point. That last video and this video here is just a taste of what you're going to expect on this channel. So very grateful for your support, Eric. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Now, I'm not sure if I've actually tried pistachio Turkish Delight Shocks. That sounds interesting. I'd be willing to try it. it's funny because after I edited that video, I was like, I really want some Turkish Delight. And so I ordered some, and I am now a happy man. Although powdered sugar is now everywhere. So, but hey, you win some, you lose some. And along those same lines, Jose, yes, try Turkish Delight. Apparently it's not for everyone, but I really love it. So, yes, and I'm glad that you recognize my great memeing skills. I'm going to do my best to be on point with that throughout the rest of this channel. So, appreciate it, man. Thanks for the comment. Anyways, guys, again, thanks so much for watching this video. I'm probably going to take a little break for the holidays, and after that, I'm going to get that pedal to the metal, and I'll definitely be keeping you guys updated. Make sure to follow me on social media and all that, and stay updated with what I'm doing. So, but yeah, until then, just remember that I'm Clifford today, and you're not. Peace out, y'all. Love ya.